All right. So this is, sorry, let's go. So this is question 58, where we have to make this idea of a portion web. So I'm hopefully going to be able to do this in slides. Let's see if we can do this. View it, present it. Good, and I still got all this. All right. So this is what we're going to do. So this is my portion web. And notice that in the middle is our constant of proportionality, which remember is another name for our unit rate, another name, constant multiplier. And so I'm going to take the information from actually question 57, I think it was, where we had our cups of flour. So if you remember in that problem, we found out the unit rate to be this, that 1 1/3 cups of flour is needed for one batch of cookies. So we just put one batch. All right, so that was our unit rate from the last question. And we're going to take this information, we're now going to make this portion web. So here's what we do. First of all, in the middle, we put our constant of proportionality, which is our unit rate, so 1 1/3. So in the middle, I'm going to put down a 1 1/3. That is my constant of proportionality. So I'll see if I can do one over here. So in the middle is going to be my 1 1/3. All right, so now we got to fill in all of this stuff. So the first thing I like to do is the situation. So I'm going to draw my little arrow going up. Let's be fancy and do a different color. So my situation is this. It means putting this unit rate into words. What does it mean? Well, this is what it means. 1 1/3 cups of flour for one batch of cookies. So let me get this out of the way so I get a little more room here. So now we got reminded about that. So my situation is this. I write this out in words, all right? That 1 1/3 cups of flour for one batch of cookies. And I'm going to, hopefully yours looks neater than mine, for one batch of cookies. So the situation is just writing it out in words of what this unit rate means. What does it talk about? Because when I look at it, 1 1/3, that means nothing. So what does it mean in this problem? It means I need 1 1/3 cups of flour for one batch of cookies. All right, so we've got this piece done. The next thing I'm going to do is my rule. And a rule is really a fancy name for the formula or the equation. All right. So if you remember, so rule, think of it as a formula. You can also think of it as equation. It's all the same thing. So as of right now, there's really only one equation that we know in our world, and that equation is this idea of y equals kx. That's the only equation that we know right now. And remember, the k is always my constant of proportionality. So it's this number right here. So I'm going to take that k out, and in its place, I'm going to put in the 1 1/3. That's what I put in for k. So this is my equation. And that's what I mean by the rule. So y equals 1/3 x. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is a table. So I'll draw my arrow going down, and I now need to make a table. So here's my table. Yours will be neater on your paper and also larger. So here's my table. Let's see. On this table, I'm going to make up here is going to be my batches of cookies. So I'm going to have batch, and here on the bottom is going to be my cups of flour, which, sorry, it's so sloppy. So up here is a number of batches. Down here is going to be my cups of flour. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I already know something really important. I know if I want to make one batch, then I need 1 1/3 cups of flour. And our table needs usually about 5 different pieces. So I'm going to do this. So let's see. Let's do 2 batches. All right. In that case, I just double it. So if I have 2 batches, well, now I'm going to need 2 2/3 cups of flour. All right. If I want to make 3 batches, so I go back to this, I multiply by 3, well, 3 cups, so that would give me 3 cups, and then a third, and a third would be another cup, so it actually becomes a 4. So I'm going to need 4 cups of flour here. All right, and then we do the same thing for 4 cups. So I multiply this by 4, multiply 1 1/3 by 4, and we end up with 5 1/3. And one thing that we should always have in our table is what happens at 0. So if I make 0 batches, then of course I'm going to need 0 cups. So this is my table. And the last thing that we need is actually a graph. My graph, and I don't have room here, but you're going to graph it. So remember this. So here's my graph. And the nice thing is now that I got this table, I can plot these points on here. Okay. Remember, the number on top is our X, so batches will go here, cups will go here. You're going to plot these 5 points, and then you have your graph. So notice, everything that we did, all 4 of these things on the outside, they all came with having to find this unit rate, having to find this constant of proportionality. When I knew that, I could write it out in words. When I knew that, I could write the equation because I shoved it in for K. If I knew my unit rate, then I can make a table, because if I know 1 batch, I can then work up to 2 batches and 3 batches, et cetera, et cetera. And then for my graph, same thing. All right. So that is question 58, where you had to take one of the examples from earlier and you had to make out this portion web. So this is the one I chose for you, since you're at home doing this, was the last question. And then your portion web is going to look something like this. Make sure you do the homework. Make sure when you're done with the homework, you've checked your answers and you are good.